that was the first time I heard that when I walked in. My name's Aleacia, alcoholic. Super grateful to be here. I'm going to share a story of my experience, strength, and hope. I'm from Edmonds, Washington, so born and raised. I was born into, now that I realize now being sober, a family of alcoholics. My grandma was an AA, some uncles that had died of drug addiction. I would say growing up, I always felt like I was not enough. I was always the black sheep of the family. My parents tried to put me in every single sport. Didn't work. And then about age 12, finding a group of friends that were like, hey, want to try this? Acid at age 12. My friend's mother giving it to us, and alcohol, and doing that every weekend. So then my parents thought, well, let's try ski school for her. Okay, so that was the only thing that I was decent at. But what would I do? I would steal my parents' alcohol and bring it up on the slopes, and thought that was normal at age 11 or 12, right? Drinking whiskey and just experimenting, anything anybody would give me, whether it was whiteout, gasoline, huffing, all of it, you name it. Well, that went on to pot, and then at age 19, I married very young, a foreigner who I brought to this country, so I kind of played that mother role, helping him with English and getting established while he was in a band. So our lifestyle in our 20s was just strictly partying, drinking, drugging, all of the above. And I thought that was normal, right? I thought that's just what you do. I guess we do in our 20s. I don't know. Until I wanted kids, right? And he still wanted to continue on. And it was like, okay, well, either going to have children or not. So I thought that would help me with my drinking, right? Get pregnant. I won't drink. I'm like, yes, 9 months. I won't drink. No more hangovers. So I got pregnant with twins. And he just continued on his band, wasn't support. So then you get more into self. I thought, I'll never forget the day when actually my kids were in the hospital for 2 weeks. I came home and my mom goes, well, why don't you try a beer because it's supposed to make your milk let down better to nurse. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, here we go. She's from the 60s and it worked for her and she did it. So started drinking then. Suffered from postpartum. I would say I'll never forget the day, do you remember MTV Spring Break? It was on TV and everybody was partying and I was like, those days are over. I can't do that anymore. I have these 2 kids. I'm just nursing. So had a C-section. A doctor wrote me pain pills. I was like, oh, this is great. Cleaning my house. Had everything. Just basically refill after refill until that became a dirty secret for drinking with it too for 5 years that my husband at the time did not even know. I was on pills. I was a total functioning addict. I would manipulate the doctors and get up to $150 a month. I would run out of those. And mind you, I was drinking heavily with these two. And I just learned how to function. I'm sure he knew. I'm sure other people did because I was 100 pounds. That worked till it didn't, until my house got robbed and I was hanging out with the drug dealer. So then I thought, okay, well, thinking I knew it was a problem, but I will just get on Suboxone. That's a Band-Aid, right? That'll cure it. Again, still drinking, because I didn't think drinking was my problem, right? I thought it was just opiates and pills. So I was on that for 2 years and then thought, okay, I need to get off this. So I'll get off of them, and drinking will help me get off of it. So detoxed over in the ocean with my new amazing husband, so he was like, okay, we need to get you off of this, whatever Suboxone is. No problem, I'll drink a bottle of wine. Get through withdrawals. So I continued that path early in my 30s, just drinking heavily. And my husband was like, something, you get really the red wine angry. Okay, well, I won't drink red wine. Let's try white wine. So white wine, okay, you're a little happier, but you can still get, okay, well, let's get the lighter white wine. The ones that's doesn't have as much alcohol in it. And then vodka. No, I'll switch to vodka. So did that, and then that worked till it didn't. And I've been a yoga teacher for about 8 or 9 years. I've practiced yoga for 20 years. So I would say that yoga, I am so grateful for it, that it has grounded me because I've always had a spiritual practice. through meditation, but that wasn't enough, right? Yoga, meditation, still was not enough for me because I thought going to teacher training about 9 years ago, again, just like getting pregnant, will help me to stop drinking. Because yogis live this healthy life and, spirituality, I was a vegan, all these things. So, and I hate public speaking, but I'm doing this now because you don't say no when your sponsor asks. And believe it or not, and I can teach in front of people and I always get nervous about it, but I did that. I did yoga and I started teaching and thought this is great. Well, my alcoholism really started to get bad about 8 years ago. I would say when I started teaching, because I started using the liquid courage, getting in front of 30, 40 people, having to be on all the time, being that different person, right, of who I was at home, who I was as a mom, a wife, but who I was in those rooms to really bring it. And that really progressed. I would say there was times where I think they didn't know, and I'm sure they do know, stumble in thinking, oh, I'm just fine, teaching a class in 140 degrees, surprised I didn't have a stroke. And just bringing it, and I would say, okay, I'd just have 2 glasses of wine, not the red wine, the white wine, before I go teach. And my husband, and then it started being a roadie, right? I would drive to teach, and I would take some vodka, pull up, and he's like, I'm so worried. And by the grace of God and my higher power, I don't know how I didn't get a DUI and how so many times I didn't die. But I would show up to those classes, and I'll never forget one time a manager said, you smell like alcohol. And I'm like, oh no, I just came from a barbecue. She's like, it's not the first time. Oh, shit. And that was like 7 years ago, right? So I'm like, okay, Aleacia, I got it. So what do? I go to Bali. I go on a yoga retreat. I do a 3-day cleanse, don't drink, trying to do the willpower, right? So I'm going to come back. I'm going to just get all my alignment through my practice and yoga. And so I'd go tell my husband, I'm going to go, I'm already on this Bali high and my chakras are aligned, whatever. And I would not drink for 20 days. I'm like, this is great. Yeah, 20 days, I got this, right? Mind you, this is 7 years ago. Yeah, I got this. So I didn't really know what it was. I knew it was powerful and it was taking over my brain because I've always had kind of OCD issues, ADHD, and as my parents say, when you do something, you're all in. Someone says, you want to run a marathon? Shit, I ran a marathon, I'm biking it. 26.2 miles, I'll do it. Anything, I'm an all-in person. There's none of that balance. So, just beginning to know that, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, teaching that it was, coming back and controlling my alcohol. That started probably 7 years ago. Again, knowing it was powerful, but I didn't know, right? So I'd meditate. I'm just okay, meditate. Just meditate, Aleacia. And that would work for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it wouldn't help for the rest of the day, right? So I'd go take a class. That would help. And then over the last few years, I would say the progression, I would say during COVID, I would say it probably got really, really bad, the isolation. I got to the point where even my kids, I thought that, because I was the functioning mom, yoga teacher, alcoholic, didn't see, but my daughter reminds me and still says today, Mom, I love you sober because you're out of the basement, right? I got to the point where what time, when can I drink, right? I would look at the clock. I would teach class. Okay, I didn't drink this morning, but I was also taking kratom the last 7 years. That's kind of it's supposed to be a natural opiate. So I was mixing those two. And so I would get off the alcohol, but, I'm taking kratom. It's okay. Then I would get off kratom and I would drink. And I would say the last 3 or 4 years, I tried to do it myself, the willpower. I said, I'm strong. I'm an all-in person, right? I've ran marathons. I went through teacher training. I had twins. I went through divorce. I can do this. No, I can't. I couldn't do it. I could not do it on my own. The longest I would go, I think, was 25, 28 days, but I was white knuckling. right? As we say, like emotional sobriety. I mean, I wasn't necessarily angry, but it's what I probably was inside all the time, but I would hold it inside. All I could think about is, okay, I got 5 more days. I did the dry January, I can drink. It worked till it did not work, right? And my life really started when I look back at it now, because, did I say my sobriety date? I'm sorry. August 4th, 2023. So I have, let's see, just a little over 7 months. The longest I've been sober ever. I've never been to detox, a program, anything since I've been using for about 30 years. And the last 2 years, like I said, got really, really, really heavy, where the obsession of the mind was out of control. No meditation, no time by myself. Anything could stop of knowing, okay, every 3 or 4 hours, okay, at first I'm going to have a glass of wine, I'm only going to have this. I would tell my husband, he's like, good job. You only had that, but he'd go to the bathroom, and I would pour more wine. And then I'll go, okay, well, I'm going to drink enough water, electrolytes to make sure I'm not hungover the next day. And, I'll never drink in the morning, right? Well, that started, especially during COVID, to change to 9:30, 10 a.m. Sometimes even before a yoga class, I would have a glass of wine to really take the edge off and deep into my alcoholism. And then I would say it was last May, my husband and I, so he smokes pot a lot. He's been sober for about, not in any program, but 3 months. So we both kind of struggle with addiction. And so we would do it together, right? He'd be like, okay, I'm going to stop smoking. You're going to stop drinking. We got this. We'll do it together. So we tried last May when we were in Maui. So like, this is going to be great. We're going to just go balls to the walls. So when we come back, we're going to quit everything, right? This is it. This is our last hurrah. The worst trip I've ever had in my life. I don't even remember it. It was like $5,000. We stayed at this like $700, this beautiful place in Maui for our 10-year anniversary. And we get there, and this is where I'd say the closest to my up that I can remember out of all the years of drinking, that I literally was laying in bed going, I'm going to fucking die. Like the obsession, I'd be laying in bed and I'm like, babe, I don't know what this is. Like, I didn't know what it was, right? It was the obsession of my mind and the anxiety. Like, it doesn't matter how much of my ujjayi breath, how much yoga, grounding I would do. It's just this like obsession of the mind, this demon in my brain that would just keep going, okay, just have a shot, then you'll be able to go to sleep. So I would do that. I would be like, okay, gosh, it's 3 a.m., can't sleep. Panic attack, like my heart just going. And so I would have a shot, I would have a hit of a joint, and I'd go, oh God, okay. I would sleep for like an hour, 2 hours. That went on for 7 days we were there. On day like 3, I was crying to come home. I was like, I can't do this. I don't care that I'm in Maui. I don't care I'm in Maui. I just want to go home and I want to be sober. I can't live this life anymore. My soul was so heavy, so hurt, like it was falling into the gutter, like piece by piece. And I didn't know how to pick up the broken pieces. Like, I was lost. I just felt vulnerable, powerless, that these substances have controlled my whole entire life since I was 12 years old, but that the alcohol, which is so normal in society, I couldn't put it together that it was a big problem, because I just thought it was normal. What is this thing going on in my brain? Until when I said, to my husband, I said, this is it. I cannot do this anymore. He's like, me either. So anyway, we get home on day 7 and everyone's like, how was your trip? I'm like, terrible. Maui, everyone's like, who says that about Maui, right? It's just terrible. So I tried again. I said, okay, we're going to do this again. I went like 15 days. This was last May, 15 days. I was like, oh, okay. Started to become really sober curious. Like on TikTok, they have all the sober curious stuff, right? Like, I feel great. I didn't really know about AA. I just knew that my childhood friend who I used to drop acid with at age 12, She's 15 years sober in the program. And I just had this deep intuition that I needed to reach out to her. And during COVID, a group of us girls that we've known since kindergarten, we started a gratitude chat, and I was always so just inspired by her, right? Her daily gratitudes. I was like, God, this girl's grateful. She's grateful for just the air and her bed, and like, why is she so happy? Like, I want to be that happy. How is she so happy? And I said, I'm going to fucking tell her. I'm just going to tiptoe and just see what she says. Like, again, I've never been to a meeting. I've never met anyone in AA at this point, ever. And I haven't seen her in years. And I was like, she goes, hey, do you want to go paddleboarding? And I look back now, I'm like, this has got to be like my higher power working in this way. And I was like, oh, should I? Do I want to give it up? Can I do? I was like, okay, I'm going. So I meet her. At Martha Lake. Yes, we go paddleboarding, and she can tell I think I'm sober curious, right? Because she said in AA it's all about opportunity. So then I just begin to talk to her about my past and this and that. She was like, why don't you just go to a meeting with me? She goes, yeah, just come with me. And I was like, okay. So then she calls me on Monday. I'm like, I can't go, I have a bladder infection. So I try to get out of it, right? Well, no, she's like, no, I'm going to come pick you up. So I go. She's like, no, you're coming. Okay. I walk in, it's a ladies group. And I remember being in the parking lot, and this lady says to me, do you have a higher power? I go, what the hell's a higher power? I'm like, what are you talking about? So I get in there, and it's the 12 and 12. And so I just read, and we go around the room, and I go, hi, I'm Aleacia, I'm alcoholic. And my shoulders dropped, and I felt the moment of surrender. Like, I felt so safe. I feel like this is where I need to be, and I am willing, and I am ready to surrender, and I couldn't stop crying. I mean, if you ask those ladies every Tuesday, like, I think just 2 months ago is when I can actually get words out without crying. And it was where I needed to be. I was ready to do the work, ready and willing. I really, really was. And it was 3 meetings a day. The first 30 days was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Maybe day 11. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down. Divorce, having twins, the hardest thing I've ever done. But sobriety is a true, true gift. And I am so, so grateful that I found an amazing sponsor. And working the steps. Sorry. Oh, I thought I wasn't worried about talking 15 minutes. I was like, I'm going to be 2 minutes because I can't talk. Desi's like, no, you're not. And so I'll wrap it with this. I am so grateful. As I'm approaching step 8, I can't even express, like, live, breathe. I tell Desi all the time. I'm like, I want to just marry AA, live, breathe, AA. Like, everything about AA to me, you're my people. I am so grateful, and I literally don't know. My sobriety comes first. Everything comes first. And that first step of surrender and being here is the most beautiful space. And I'm so, so grateful for every single day and each and every single one of you. So thank you.